Welcome to Martini Time. It's a beautiful hot day here in Blackstone, the center of the world. By the way, I live in Blackstone, Virginia, which is in Southside Virginia. It's about 50 miles southwest of Richmond, in the rural South here, even though I live in a town. And so the title of this talk today is The Romance of the South. So in Richmond, there is a road called Monument Avenue, where at every intersection there is a statue of a Civil War general, I believe. It's quite impressive. It's like a museum in the middle of a city. And every now and then, somebody will flare up an article about they better not take our statues down. So I wrote about that today. I get my stimulation from Facebook. Kind of like Will Rogers, who used to say, everything I know is in the newspapers. Well, everything I know is on Facebook. So it's on, Facebook is my sandbox. So I got to meditating on this today, meditating on, now what does that mean? To have these statues of these heroic men on horses. You know, the Southern general is always on a horse. He's never standing there. Enlisted man standing there. There are no statues of them, but the man on the horse. Great individuals. The people here study the Civil War. They have reenactments where every year they reenact different battles, since most of them were fought here in Virginia. So that, and then you have purist and have fundamentalist and liberal reenactors. The fundamentalist even wears Civil War underwear. Everything is perfect. Liberal, I'll wear my jockeys, So, but this is a religion, a reenactment religion. It's very great to watch. I took some great photos at some of them, and but they're very particular to detail, historical accuracy, and people know their Civil War generals. Name the schools after them: Stonewall Jackson, Robert E. Lee. I can't think of any more, but if you go run around and look at the schools, they will all be named after them. And so what's that about? It's like the romance of the South. What does romance mean? Got a hair. The first time I encountered romance, basically, as a study was when I was an English major and I studied English literature. And it's a category of English literature. It came out, the romance, romantics, Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats, Shelley, the Romantic poets. And they were a reaction to the Newtonian Enlightenment or Age of Reason. They were a reaction to the realism of the new scientific age that was born out of the Middle Ages. The Newtonian universe, which, by the way, we still live in, through our common sense, is now a Newtonian universe. We think in terms, common sense reality is the one pictured by Newton, which is reality is just a bunch of things bumping around in this soulless cosmos. There's no meaning in it. It's just things, just stuff created by a boom. You see, so basically the founding fathers were deists, and a deist believed in God as a clockmaker. So, okay, there's a God, he created the universe, wound it up, and then that's it. He created it, he doesn't interfere anymore. Now it's man's reason that can figure out how this clock works and change the future. He doesn't have to ask God, he can figure it out with his reason. That's the Newtonian world. It's all laws. You just got to figure out what the law is. You can control the future. But there's no meaning in it. There's no romance. There's no subjectivity. Consciousness doesn't even exist. It's a ghost in the machine. Can't find it, can't measure it, forget about it. Soul, consciousness, forget about it, can't measure it. If you could measure it, well then we could say it's a thing and it exists, but you can't find it because it's subjective. So the subjective world has been erased. But it's the subjective I am that creates the romance. Romance is about feeling, emotion. Oh, I feel, oh, they fell in love. Oh, it's so wonderful. Oh, I feel. The realist is, well, it's just facts. Buck up, you see. So this duality plays out with different clothes, the realist and the romantic. Idealism and realism, you see. So romance. So the South is a romantic place in our memory. Not so much now. It's just Walmart, corporate stores, people working 9 to 5, 2 jobs, drinking and barbecuing when they get off. That's about it. But the romance, you see, is in our imagination, So my mother-in-law used to read Harlequin romances. Those were, what I mean by romance. That's about the love of chance meeting. Oh, it's so romantic, you see. So it's not factual. It's romance. So the Civil War is a romance of the Civil War, the lost cause, the martyrs, the heroic individuals. So what I particularly became interested in was the cult of the heroic individual, which is an American cult. We may know it as the Western hero. The Western hero, the John Wayne, the Shane, the Western hero is the uncivilized man. He lives outside the pale. And when civilization is in conflict, when there's trouble in River City, he comes in and just by his sheer willpower and gunpowder restores order. And then because his real home is beyond the pale, across the horizon, he rides off into the sunset. And the little boy cries, "Shane, Shane, come back, Shane." That movie had a big impression on me with Alan Ladd and Shane. But it's the same theme. It's the romantic theme of the Western cowboy who is the natural man, the real man, the true individual. These civilized people, they're just effete wussies, They drink latte and ride jet skis. They wouldn't know how to fix a tractor. Put them out here with me, and they wouldn't exist. They couldn't make it. You see. So the redneck man, the country man, the Western man, and our Civil War general man. You see, so the romance of the South is a romance of the heroic individual who changes history. This goes back to Napoleon. There was a great debate when Napoleon conquered Europe. Napoleon was like the heroic individual who just changed history on his own willpower? Or was he created by conditions? So Marx comes along and says, no, history is created by conditions. But the Romantic says, no, history is created by the individual. The individual changes history through heroic action, courage, bravery. He actualizes his dream. This is the American way, you see. So right there, you can see all these different threads going out. Right there, you can see the difference between the right and the left. The liberals lean toward conditions, change conditions. The right leans towards individual choice. If you're poor, just choose not to be poor. If you're on drugs, just say no. Don't be determined by conditions. Be heroic. Well, this is true, but it's only one half of the coin. You see, so realism by itself has no virtue. Romanticism by itself is sentimentality and illusion. Don Quixote, seeing dragons when it's a windmill. You see, so romanticism by itself, when it's not realistic, sees the great enemy everywhere. The immigrants are the enemy. The Jews, the Negroes, the workers. Somewhere there's an enemy. Somewhere there are somebody who is trying to destroy the natural true man. Got to get rid of it. Release the true man. Release the hero, you see. Well, that's fine. No problem. Except that if it doesn't have an equal measure of realism, you can see where it goes. Chasing phantoms. Chasing a story. So romanticism without realism invests in the story. So all the facts fit the story. Now the scientific method came along and destroyed romanticism in that sense, because if the facts don't fit the story, if the facts don't fit the theory, then the theory's no good. But romanticism says, if the facts don't fit the theory or the story, then ignore the facts. The story is what's important. The story gives meaning. The story gives value. The story makes you feel important. The story makes you feel like a hero. You want to give that up? The story makes you feel like you're somebody. So believe in the story. Believe in the heroic. Nothing wrong with that. But if it believes that without the realism, you can see where that goes. Ego inflation. Self-destruction. Madness. Madness is a story separated from facts. Madness, insanity, is a story without realism. A mass shooter is a romantic. He sees himself as a martyr, a hero, a savior, completely devoid, separated from real facts, from the context, you see. He's a balloon that's lifted up. He's an example of romanticism without a ground. So how do you get the ground? How do you get romanticism and realism to fit together? The best movie I know that presents that as a problem is The Life of Pi. I hope you all saw that. The Life of Pi had two stories. The whole movie was about the story of the boy with the tiger. A romantic story of wonder, triumph, mystery, metaphor. Made you feel alive, made you feel full of wonder. Oh, it's wonderful. But then there was a newspaper reporter. What was the newspaper story? Well, ship sank and there was a boy with the cook and his mother and some other people, and they were all in this lifeboat, and they ended up eating each other. Cannibalism. Only the boy survived. What a sordid tale that is. What? But it's factual. It's realistic. Doesn't uplift you. Doesn't give you a sense of awe and wonder, you see. So that's the realism without the romantic. The boy with the tiger. But then the boy with the tiger Did the carnivorous island really exist? Was there really an island that that gave to you during the day and took away at night? Did the boy really live with a Bengal tiger in a lifeboat? It doesn't. How could that be? It's not realistic, you see. So right there, the movie presents Romanticism and realism together like a Zen cone. If you choose the boy with the tiger, you're wrong. If you choose the boy with the cook, you're wrong. Now, which is it? You got to choose or I'll smack you. You can't choose. But when you watch the movie, they fuse into the movie and your experience in the movie. When you're in the movie, you're one with the movie. So the movie as metaphor fuses the fact and the fiction. So the metaphorical life, a life that is both romantic and realistic, is a life that fuses fact and fiction. And you can't really, there's no path to that. You have to discover it. You have to stumble upon it. You have to trip into it. You have to find your way by following your heart, your passion. And the question is, who are you? Am I just a thing, a billiard ball bumping around on this big cosmic billiard table, and at any moment I can be shot into the pocket? Is that what I am? Is that all there is? Just billiard balls bumping into each other for a limited amount of time? Is that it? Is that all, you see? And you might as well shoot yourself, and many do. Maybe Anthony Bourdain shot himself for that. I don't know. But suicide is the end result of realism without romanticism. But the other extreme is just as insane. So there is no path. I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you that it's there. I can tell you that the creative life, where you create your mythology, where you create your romance, is possible. But you have to discover it. And you don't discover it by following any manual or any directive or any guru or any religion or philosophy. You have to follow your heart, and one day you'll trip and fall into it. Thanks for dropping in.